This Choircast podcast is brought to you by Heretic Happy Hour, whose tagline is burning questions, not people. You know, we've been around for a long time now, and we've had many different lineups, and Heretic Happy Hour is only getting bigger and better with guest hosts like Rainn Wilson, David Bentley Hart, John Fugelsang, Candida Moss, Elaine Pagels, and of course, December Rose. 2024 and 2025 are turning out to be our best years yet. So check us out on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's Heretic Happy Hour. We hope to see you soon.
Hey, heathens, you're listening to the Deadly Faith podcast where religion and crime collide. I'm Laci.
And I'm Lola.
And this shit is shameful.
The mind that was in Jesus, that mind is in me.
Without me, life has no meaning.
Why would God tell you what I'm thinking and tell you what I've said to my wife or my husband when you're not around? It's because I'm the pastor of the church and I need to know.
This is the only place where you can see truth.
The shame is upon you.
The shame is upon many people in this story. And when I tell you you're going to get angry, you're going to get angry.
Shame, shame, I know your name.
Yes.
Okay.
So today we're talking about the case of Aundria Bowman. This is a new documentary on Netflix called Into the Fire. If you have not watched it yet, please don't watch it. Okay, just listen to part 1 and then listen to part 2 and then you can go watch it because you're going to need to watch it after this anyways because there's something about having the ability to listen to the actual victims of a case that just really drive it home for you that just us storytelling the case is not going to do for it. So I highly suggest going and watching it after you listen to part 1 and part 2, okay? Because there are going to be some curveballs. And I'm excited to tell this story. I really am.
I'm ready to tap into my anger today.
There's a person in this story that I just fucking love to death, man. She is my...
Is it Aundria?
Aundria? No. I wish.
Oh, okay.
I wish. No, it is her biological mother, Cathy Terkanian. She is the fucking goat.
What a last name. Say that again.
Terkanian.
Terkanian.
I'm like, that's a fucking cool last name. Like, I don't know where it's from, but...
Sounds like, you know how whenever they'll come out with an appliance that's like really shitty and then they'll come out with a better, company comes out with a better version. Hers sounds like the better version. I don't know for what appliance, but okay. Moving on. Story time?
We interrupt today's episode to bring you a message from our sponsor, Javy. Say goodbye to chaotic mornings and hello to delicious, convenient coffee. With Javy's coffee concentrate in a variety of flavors, you can whip up your favorite brew in no time. Whether you prefer hot, iced, or even blended coffee, Javy's got you covered, okay? Just a teaspoon of this magic elixir is all you need for a flavorful kickstart to your day. Trust me, once you try it, you'll be hooked. From classic flavors like vanilla and caramel to decadent options like cookies and cream and caramel brulee, Javy literally has something for every coffee lover. As a mom with 3 kids, 2 dogs, 3 bunnies, and 25 chickens, I love how Javy helps me make a delicious iced coffee every morning in under 2 minutes. Seriously, guys, it's just so quick. You just pour it all together, stir it in, and enjoy. My favorite flavor right now is the caramel brulee, but I did just order the cookies and cream along with the decaf so I can enjoy an afternoon or evening coffee without jacking up my sleep schedule. They've got original and they've got even more other flavors to come. They've got mocha as well. You really don't want to miss this. So if you want to save some time each morning and even a little money, or if you just want to try a damn good cup of coffee, try Javy today. Don't wait. Click the link in the show notes and use code LACI33468 at checkout to enjoy 20% off your purchase. Again, click the link in the show notes and use code LACI33468 at checkout. And that is Laci with an I. Enjoy that 20% off, guys. And before we dive into today's episode, I am so freaking excited to announce that my book, Leaving the Sanctuary, is now available to purchase. You can get it on Amazon. It is available. It's on Kindle and paperback. It will be coming as an audiobook very soon, but that's going to take just a little bit. I will keep you guys updated here on the podcast and on my socials. So give me a follow so you can be all up to date. If you end up purchasing the book, share on social media. I would love that. And please tag me so I can see everybody who's reading it. I want to hear what you think about it. And if it resonated with your own journey of deconstruction, I want to hear all the things. Remember, it's called Leaving the Sanctuary, Discovering Life Beyond the Boundaries of Religion. And it is available now, November 12th on Amazon. There will be a link in the show notes for you to get it. Thanks, guys. Now back on to today's episode. Story time. Also, trigger warnings real quick. There's just a few. Murder does get a little graphic, but we really won't get into the graphicness until we get into part 2. But we will get into some sexual assault of the case today, and we will get into more of it on to next episode. So let's just jump right in. Now I'm going to read.
Did you almost say on Tuesday?
I did. I almost said on Tuesday, but that meant like,
hey guys, it's not even anywhere close to Tuesday. Just by the way,
I just meant like because our episodes come out on Tuesday, so like,
yeah.
Anyways. Moving on.
Yes.
I'm going to start this case by reading a quote from Cathy Terkanian. And it says, if you want to get something done, get good and mad.
Oof. Okay.
Now,
is that our mantra? Okay.
That is her mantra.
Where's
basically.
The flag?
And I just want you to put this in your back pocket and remember this quote as we go through this case. Because that encompasses this entire case. Okay. So
I'm ready.
On June 23rd, 1974, at just 16 years old, Cathy Terkanian welcomed her beautiful baby girl, Alexis Badger, into the world. She may have been young, but Cathy was determined to be the best mom that she could be. However, though, Cathy's own mother didn't believe that she had what it took at 16 to care for a child, so she pressured Cathy until she felt an immense amount of guilt and caved. So when Alexis was 9 months old, she gave her up for adoption. And this was a closed adoption, and Cathy never saw her again after this. Now, Cathy truly believed that giving up Alexis to a more stable family with a mom and a dad and like somebody who had more finances available to them, that this was actually the best thing for Alexis in the long run. So she felt like this was just a selfless thing. And remember, her mom really guilt-tripped and like pressured her into doing this and making her feel like you can't do this. You need to give her up. So she did.
Yeah. That's for a 16-year-old, that really is a selfless decision to be like.
It really is. And the fact that she felt pressured into it by her mom, really fucks me up, man. Because
I almost understand it. But not really.
I would never pressure her into it.
No, that's the thing. Like, I understand the concern of this is a young person that may not have like the financial and educational stability, not have all the resources right then and there, but it's still her choice.
But also remember, Alexis was 9 months old. You spent 9 months with this baby. That is...
You formed a bond, a connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's even more selfless to give her up at that point. Like, she made the hardest decision. And, oof. Now, after the adoption, though, Cathy spent years battling depression and suicidal ideation. Her only hope was that when Alexis came of age, she would seek her out and then they would be able to reconnect. That was like the one thing she was just like living on.
Yeah.
Now, years later, Cathy was an adult and went out one night to the bar to have a little fun. While she was there, she met a man named Eddie and they hit it off, but they never actually exchanged numbers or anything that night. And then 3 days later, the stars aligned and Eddie and Cathy met up again. And out of an act only orchestrated by the universe, the two connected, started dating, and 10 weeks later, they were married.
Stop. Shut the doors and the windows.
And they're still married to this day. I was like, that is the only marriage that I have heard that was faster than ours. So good job that you got a good one. So the couple had been together for about a month when Cathy told him, I gave a daughter up for adoption. And she told him about Alexis. Now, her life was quiet for a while after this, and there was never a day, though, that she didn't really think about Alexis and regrets her decision to give her up for adoption. Then, in 2010, we're jumping way fucking far ahead, okay? 35 years after she gave up Alexis, she received a letter in the mail from the adoption agency. The letter told her that her daughter, Alexis, went missing 21 years prior on March 11th, 1989, when she was only 14 years old.
What?
I know. I wish you guys could see not Alexis, Lola's face right now.
But dude, why so long? Why so long?
We'll get into that. We are going to make all of those connections, okay? Like you will not, you will have, by the end of part 2, you're going to have every answer to this whole entire case. Like I am not leaving you.
Where's the logic? Okay.
So
this is already infuriating.
She had went missing at 14 years old. They also informed her that they had found a body next to a cornfield in Rankin County, Wisconsin, just on the other side of Lake Michigan, and thought that it could be Alexis. So they were requesting a DNA sample from Cathy so they can compare it to that of the Jane Does. Now, after reading this letter, Cathy broke down.
Of course.
Remember, she's had regret her whole entire life.
And she's been battling depression and suicidal ideation. Like this is just the...
Yeah. And I didn't put this in here, but we can mention it right now. Cathy she ran away from home at the age of 14 and then got pregnant at 16. So like she did not grow up in a really like loving household.
Okay.
And so for her to realize like her daughter went missing at 14, like what was this? Did she run away? Did she get kidnapped? Like she has no answers to this. So then she's thinking, who did I give her to? What people did I give her to? Where did I give her to? Did I like if I would have kept her, if somebody murdered her or if somebody kidnapped her, would it have been safer if I'd have just kept her? So, I mean, the regret is all consuming at this point.
The ifs.
Oh, the ifs
are haunting.
Yeah, very haunting. So she, like I said, had given up Alexis for adoption in hopes that she'd have a better life. But instead, she had been missing for the past 21 years and could possibly be dead at this point. To say she was heartbroken would be an understatement. Now, she, of course, gave her DNA, but that was going to take some time to get back because this is not like an emergency case. So it's going to take a long time for those tests to be done. So in the meantime, she was like, I want fucking answers. What the fuck is going on? And what happened to my daughter? And so she starts asking. She wanted to know who her daughter was, why she went missing, where she grew up, and more. But unfortunately, the cops and the adoption agency couldn't give her any information because she had relinquished her rights to Alexis when she gave her up for adoption. So she went to the only source available to her, the internet.
2010.
2010.
The year of Kesha.
So the only information she had was Alexis's date of birth. She knew her date of birth because she's the one that gave birth to her. So her and Eddie went straight to the computer and Eddie started searching missing person with that date of birth and around that Michigan. And with
I love that Eddie's in this with her, even though
Eddie's her ride or die man.
His daughter,
Eddie,
you know, like
and Eddie
biologically
still and is with her through this entire thing.
This is a good Eddie.
It's a good Eddie.
A good Eddie.
We love our Eddies. So he goes to the computer and within 10 minutes, not even kidding, 10 fucking minutes, he found a 14-year-old that had went missing in March of 1989 in Michigan. She was actually the very first person listed on the Michigan State Police Department's website. That's when Cathy found out that Alexis, her name had been changed to Aundria Bowman.
Okay.
So, Alexis Badger is Aundria Bowman. After that, Cathy set out on Facebook trying to find Alexis or her adopted family, but she had no luck. Alexis went missing way before Facebook was even a thing. So she decided, you know what? I'm going to try to garner some leads, and I'm going to do that by creating a Find Aundria Bowman Facebook page. And she did. It didn't take long for multiple leads to come through from classmates who'd gone to school with Aundria and remembered when she went missing. And one lady who contacted Cathy immediately was Sue Eweiler. I don't know how you say her last name, Eyler. She was actually a family member of Aundria's adopted family. So she knew Aundria very, very well. And Aundria's adopted family very, very well.
This is the perfect connection. Yes.
Perfect connection. So this woman, Sue, okay, her husband's cousin was a woman named Brenda, and Brenda was Alexis's adopted mother.
Okay,
so I'm going to say that again. Sue's husband's cousin was a woman named Brenda who was Alexis's adopted daughter. So that's how they're related.
Adoptive mother.
Yeah, I'm going to say mother. Sorry.
You said daughter.
I did.
So
sorry.
This is pretty much the cousin of the parents, the adoptive parents.
Yes. Cousins of the adoptive parents.
Are we now going to start calling her Alexis, or are we?
We're going to continue to call her Aundria after. We're going to start calling her Aundria after this.
Okay.
Because it'll just get confusing.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So, come to find out, Alexis had been adopted by a couple named Brenda and Dennis Bowman. As a child, Brenda was said to be quiet and reserved type of like young child. Even when she became a teen, she kept to herself. In high school, though, she met a man named Dennis Bowman, and they quickly fell in love with each other. From what I've gathered, her family was under the impression that Dennis was like her very first boyfriend, so she didn't have a whole lot of experience with dating. But when she found Dennis, they just kind of just fell into each other's arms, fell in love, and it was just like a match made in heaven kind of thing.
Okay.
After Brenda graduated high school, Dennis had joined the Navy, and before he actually joined, he had told Brenda that he planned on proposing, but he was going to do that when he got back from boot camp. So he's like, let me go to boot camp.
So sweet.
I know, and then I'll come back, I'll propose, and it'll be like so beautiful.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what happened. Dennis came home after boot camp and him and Brenda got engaged. They married in 1971. And after that, Dennis was stationed in San Diego with the Navy. They were only there for about 6 months before they moved to North Fork, Virginia. Now, the couple were Christians and they desperately wanted to start a family right away. But unfortunately, Brenda got some really devastating news. She unfortunately had what's called a double uterus, making it almost impossible for her to ever get pregnant.
A double uterus. I'm thinking of a uterus or two. I'm thinking of two uteri. Uteruses? Uteri that are like glued together.
A double uterus is a rare condition that is present at birth in some women. In a female uterus, the uterus starts out as two small tubes. Oh, so I'm assuming that those tubes don't. It literally is two fucking uteruses.
Okay, so I'm right.
You're fucking right. So basically, it's these two tubes.
They look like they're glued together?
Because the uterus comes up and then it goes out towards like the fallopian tubes. Well, when you're in utero, it's these two tubes that connect the vaginal canal to the fallopian tubes, and then those two tubes like mesh together and end up forming one. So
okay.
So is it possible? I'm gonna have to Google this after this episode because I'm like, what the fuck? Could you have sex and get pregnant in your right ovary from your like right ovary pushing out an egg, and you get pregnant in your right uterus, but then a couple months later you get pregnant in your left uterus because your other ovary pushed out an egg? Or I guess your ovary wouldn't push out an egg because you're already pregnant.
I don't think it's all fully disconnected like that, though.
It is. I just looked at a picture. They're fully disconnected from each other. Yes.
Oh, shit.
So now I'm curious. I don't know. I'm going to go on a rabbit hole. I think that's impossible, but because I would assume your other ovary's not going to push out an egg.
I feel like because of the whole, like, you would already be pregnant.
Yeah, so your body wouldn't be producing the egg.
It wouldn't. Yeah.
I realized that once I said it.
But you could be at risk for it. It could happen.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Crazier things.
Anything is possible in this day and age.
It's true.
No. Actually, anything is possible, period. So,
period. Right. So,
double uterus, can't have baby. Get it. Okay.
Can get pregnant. It's just very slim.
Oh.
Okay. It makes it way harder. So, let's see. But they weren't going to let that stop them. They decided, like, if we can't have any biological children, then fuck it. We're going to adopt. Which they were Christians. I thought they said fuck it.
We adopt. Not fuck it, we ball.
So
put that on a t-shirt.
Right.
That's a good one.
It took him a few years, not him. It took them a few years to get through the adoption process. But then one day they got a phone call and received the very exciting news. There was a 9-month-old baby available for adoption, and that was Alexis Badger. Not long after that phone call, Dennis and Brenda excitingly brought home Alexis. They ended up changing her name to Aundria Michelle Bowman. And this is when I'll start using Aundria after this.
Okay. Aundria.
So the family said that Aundria was one of the sweetest children that they had really ever met. And every single one of the family members, including the extended family, said that they believed that she was truly a gift from God.
Oh.
Now, after a few years of living in North Fork, Virginia, they ended up moving to Hamilton, Michigan, which is like a pretty small town. Its population's around 4,000 at this time. And Alexis lived there. While Alexis lived there, there was like a grocery store, like a post office, and like a gas station, a school, and then like 1,000 churches. You know, typical Southern, Midwestern type town. It's Pretty much
makes sense. Yeah.
Or Mid-Eastern. Is it Mid-Eastern or Midwest?
Mm.
North Fork, Hamilton, what is it? Hamilton, I just went blank. Hamilton, Michigan.
We're bad at math and geography.
Midwest? Yeah, that's the Midwest.
If you can believe it.
Midwest? I don't fucking know. It's in the U.S. Typical for a United States small community.
Listen, the Common Core curriculum failed me in geography. So
Common Core came out after, so everything failed me. Also, I took geography twice in college, and I don't remember shit about it.
You took geography in college?
Mm-hmm. It was one of the...
I didn't even...
Yeah, it was a required course for educators. I had to take it twice.
Okay.
Because I failed it the first time. Yeah. Yep, that's me. Anyways, it was considered, this area was considered super safe. No crimes happened. Everyone kept their door unlocked. That kind of thing. Typical of this time. Now, one of Aundria's old classmates said that it was the type of community where you had to go to church. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Everyone went to church. And if you didn't go to church, or at least didn't regularly attend church, you were talked about. You were seen as other, and you were gossiped about, kind of thing. It was like...
This is classic small town USA.
Yes. You're falling away from the Lord. I didn't see you in Sunday service, Sally. Yeah, that kind of thing.
She's part of the occult.
Now, the Bowman family was no exception to this, and they were consistent churchgoers, though. They loved their church. They were devout members, and they were even... Dennis and Brenda both were Sunday school teachers. So they went all the time.
Drop that denomination.
I
think
they were Baptist. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember.
Called it. In my brain, I was like, it's either going to be Baptist or Presbyterian.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure those were all the churches they were like. And then there was 1,000 Baptist churches everywhere. So it's pretty much. Now, they were highly involved in their congregation as well, not just with Sunday school. And on Sundays, they were at all the events and everything. And they were just devout followers of their faith in general. But then one day, while the family was living in Hamilton, Brenda started to get sick. Day after day, she was nauseous and just couldn't keep any of her food down. After a while, Dennis started to think that this was not just some sickness that she contracted. So when he came home from work, he handed her a pregnancy test and said, take it. At first, Brenda was like, that was so funny. Nice joke, Dennis.
Yeah.
I can't get pregnant, And he's like, just take it. Maybe you are, maybe you're not, but at least
prove me wrong,
kind of thing. She was like, whatever, and just kind of threw it to the side. I'm not taking it.
Okay.
She went to bed that night, woke up, or couldn't really sleep. And so in the middle of the night, she was like, fine, I'll take it. Just to, at least it's something I can rule out because it's going to be negative. I can't get pregnant, right?
Yeah.
Piece on the stick, comes back positive. She's pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
So she's ecstatic. She never thought she'd be able to be pregnant. Yes, they are happy to have Aundria, but now she can have a biological child. So she's super
excited.
Blessings
on top of blessings.
Blessings on blessings on blessings. So she runs out. She jumps on Dennis in the bed. He's asleep. And she's like, wake up. You're a daddy. You're a daddy again. And wakes him up. And it's this just happy little moment. So now they're becoming a bigger family. And Aundria was so fucking excited. She was like, I get to have a sibling. She was over the moon excited about
big sister vibes.
It just felt like picture perfect life is happening and life is moving forward. Their family's growing. Everything's just sunshine and rainbows.
I'm bracing for impact because this is when it's going to get bad.
Yeah, this is a two-parter, so it's going to get bad.
Okay.
Now, baby Vanessa, that's what they named her. She was a girl. After she was born, Aundria just fell in love with her, and she was so excited to have a baby sister. She would tell all her friends about her. She always tried to take care of her. She'd feed her. She'd play with her. Vanessa was her world at such a young age, and then even up into her teens. As a teen, Aundria's friends said that she was outgoing, she was funny, and she was very bubbly. She was the type of person that was just, loved to be around by literally anybody. And you could definitely call her a social butterfly. But then her family said that all of a sudden, when she was around the age of 12 or 13, something changed, which we know those ages are fucking awful. You're starting to go
the worst time.
It's the fucking worst, okay?
You don't know who you are. You're just lost.
You're in middle
Everything
school.
Everything feels kind of gray
and
weird.
School's you just want to gouge somebody's eyes out because middle school fucking sucks.
And you feel ugly.
Yeah, your body's changing. You don't know what to do with it. You're probably starting your period or you've been on your period for a while. You're emotional, you're hormonal.
Now you have to start wearing deodorant.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And usually the deodorant thing starts at like 10. And I tell you, those fifth graders, they'd be some stinky kids. I've been substituting those fifth graders. I'm like,
after PE, though, I have. Oh,
it's bad.
Get out.
It's bad. But then it gets worse in junior high because then they not only find deodorant, but the boys find Axe body spray and do not understand moderation. And then you have multiple boys wearing all the different smells of Axe body spray and you just like fucking
disgruntled white boys.
Fumes. I'm like, you're not old. You still have all your olfactory senses. One spray. Quick. That's all you need. Also, Axe body spray should just die. Go buy some cologne. Okay, moving on.
We are actually not sponsored by Axe body spray.
Not sponsored by
Just in case. Just in case that comes up.
That was a joke. Don't sue us, please. Thank you.
But Axe body spray, if you'd like to be a sponsor, we'd love to have you, actually. I enjoy the fragrances in small quantities.
I can't tell you the last time I smelled one, but I'll give you a second shot if you're willing to sponsor us.
Okay.
Anyways, now back on to business. So, where was I? She's having some trouble.
She's being changing. Different, or she's changing. Things are different now that she's entered the the 12 to 13 age. Yeah. She started shoplifting. She started taking drugs from kids at school. She started talking back to her teachers and even running away from home multiple times. Now, her adoptive... This is a little bit par for the course with teenage,
and she's adopted, like that adoptive trauma, that's always there.
Mm-hmm.
Always got to be ready for that to come up and deal with it and help her through it. So her adoptive family said that one day she had gotten so upset with Brenda that she ended up punching the glass out of the window of their back door. Like, that's how mad she got. Yeah, like it was bad. So the family said that they were desperate to try to help her and just get any kind of help that they can. And they did not want to watch her go through this emotional turmoil without some kind of help. So they said they took her to counseling, which I was like, great, you took her to counseling, okay? But unfortunately, it didn't seem to help. And she was still, acting up and all of this stuff just kept going on. So on the day of Aundria's disappearance, Dennis took her to school that morning because she had some kind of band or extracurricular activity. And then after she finished, him and Brenda and baby Vanessa went and picked her up from the school. They said that when they picked her up from the school and brought her home, they noticed she was super quiet, but they didn't really make note of it at the time. Like, it didn't seem super out of ordinary because she's a moody teenager. So like, okay, that's typical. So when they got home, Brenda got ready to go to work because she worked the second shift at a place called Lincolnshire. So she got herself ready. And then Dennis, baby Vanessa, and baby Vanessa took her to work, leaving Aundria at home alone. And they said they took baby Vanessa because they didn't want her to get distracted or say like, oh, I had to watch baby Vanessa, so I couldn't do my homework. They wanted her to just like be able to focus on her homework. Yeah. So they took her. And then when Dennis got home from dropping Brenda off, he came in and he lays baby Vanessa down on the couch.
Do we know how long the drive was?
No. I want to say, based off the small town and the small area, I'd say he was there and back within like 45 minutes, maxed.
Okay.
So when they got back, Aundria was nowhere to be found. It was so quiet. It was eerily quiet. But at first, he just thought that Aundria was upstairs in her bedroom doing her homework. And so he went up to check on her, but she wasn't there. And he noticed that his bedroom door was open and they had a lock on their bedroom door and it had been broken. So he's like, what the hell? So he starts searching around. He finds out that he realizes that like her jacket that she always wears, a purple jacket, it's gone. A suitcase is gone. And they had just gotten like income tax money. And he had a wad of cash in his dresser drawer and that was gone. So his instant thought is she ran away.
She ran.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because this isn't the first time that she's ran away.
Okay, yeah.
So he instantly thinks she ran away. So he calls the cops and he files a missing persons report.
Okay.
So they also found during their discovery that she had stolen all of baby Vanessa's piggy bank money. Another thing pointing to like she wasn't kidnapped, she most likely ran away. There's multiple sources of money missing. So it was very evident that that's where the assumption was going. So they filed a missing persons report. Now the news spread super fast.
Of course.
Around town.
Small town.
Yeah.
Child.
And everyone is helping look for her at the beginning. There were a few reports that came in from people who said that they thought they may have seen her, but nothing ever ended up panning out. Some of these reports were one person saying they saw her at a truck stop, another said they saw her at a bar, and even one person said they saw her in line at a grocery store, and it looked like she had dyed her hair and that she like could possibly be pregnant. Which I was like,
what?
So she went from like not being pregnant to like possibly pregnant, like within a few days. I was like, okay.
Okay.
I don't take eyewitness testimony. Like you
don't take it as seriously.
I don't, because like there have been
police also are kind of, they operate the same way.
And you should, because our minds play trick.
We see what we want to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it can be so hard. Like somebody can be dead set and they really do believe like I saw X, Y, and Z, but then they actually have evidence or like security footage that shows A, B, and C. And they're like, but I saw X, and they're like, physically, there is no way that this could have happened because here's the video footage. Like it didn't happen the way you said it happened.
Yeah. If you want to believe it enough, your mind will fabricate a scenario. And it's not that you intentionally lied.
Yeah.
It's just
our brains are really good at doing that, unfortunately.
Magical squiggles.
Now, the main rumor or theory about Aundria's disappearance during this time was that she ran away, and many of her classmates assumed that she ran away to a truck stop because this wasn't her first time to run away. So they thought she probably ran away to a truck stop and got a ride out of town or out of state. That was the theory that her friends were saying, and that was a theory I think that everybody believed for a long time. Yeah. Every day after Brenda got off work at about 11:30 at night, she would drive around town for hours looking for Aundria. And she was just hoping that like Aundria would see her car or that she'd be able to find her, or Aundria would just like be in destitute, no money and out on the streets. And then she'd see her and then just like want to come home. So she would go out. And this happened for weeks. Every night she'd go out and go out and go out.
Oh, poor Brenda.
I know. She's just so brokenhearted. But after a few weeks of this and coming up with like literally not even the smallest of leads, Dennis told Brenda that she needed to stop and just come home. He reminded her that she had a daughter at home that needed her attention, and that in his opinion, like she was just wasting her time because it was clear that Aundria wanted to run away. She didn't want to be at home. She didn't want to be at their house. So why waste your time continuing to look for her? Let's let the cops do their job and try and find her. And you come home and raise your baby.
That's a little weird.
I'm glad you said that because I thought the same thing when I heard that. I was like, wait, what? Wouldn't you go to the ends of the earth for your child?
Because regardless if she's adopted, I know that there's going to be people that are thinking like this is justified because she's an adopted child.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter that status. Once you adopt the child, it's your child.
Yeah. That's what I thought. So I'm glad
it's your child. So you have one daughter at home. That's right. And she's safe and she has food and she's got everything she needs.
Mm-hmm.
And she also has two parents.
Yeah.
And you've got another one that's lost.
So I thought the same thing. Keep that little nugget in the back of your head.
Oh, I don't like it.
Oh,
okay.
No, yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, about 20 years after Aundria had gone missing, a man named Carl Koppelman, he was a web sleuth for missing and unidentified people. He made the connection that the Jane Doe found in the cornfield could possibly be the body of Aundria Bowman. Now, we're going to talk about how he did this because I thought it was so fucking fascinating. So Carl had started his hobby of web sleuthing for missing and unidentified people a few years prior to this. Not long into his hobby, he realized that the website called websleuths.com didn't actually have a good way to filter out cases or match certain cases with commonalities between them. So he took it on as a really huge project. He's an accountant, so he has exceptional spreadsheet skills. So he was able to create this massive, all-encompassing spreadsheet consisting of over 19,000 cases of missing and unidentified people. Now, with this spreadsheet, he would be able to go in and put filters in on cases and say, like, in this area, from this time to this time, X, Y, Z. He put on all his filters, and then it would...
He made a full-ass database.
He made a fucking database, okay? And with that, with these filters, he was able to find 13 missing persons cases that could match that of the Jane Doe found next to the cornfield. Now, if you look on a map, we'll put it over on our Instagram. You can go look at it. But on the map, you have, I think it's Lake Michigan, okay? And you have Michigan on one side and was it Wisconsin on the other? I think it's what it is. Yeah. And so literally on one side of Lake Michigan is the area that she went missing in. And then on the other side, right on the edge of Lake Michigan is...
Where the body was?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's still a large area, but just on the other side of the lake. Now, while Cathy is learning more about who her daughter was during her life, she also was waiting on the DNA sample to come back, and it took 3 whole years. And the results gave her even more questions than answers because it wasn't a match.
Nah.
It was not her daughter. So...
It couldn't be so simple.
Who was this Jane Doe? And where the fuck is Aundria? And what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
We
have even more problems.
We still have more problems. She's asking all those questions. So where was she? Why did she go missing? What happened to make her want to run away? What had she gone through after she gave her up? What happened
what her
when
school
she
day
went away?
Look like that day?
Yeah. What fucking happened? Her mind is swirling with questions, and she was just not able to let any of this go, okay? So while Cathy is desperately searching for answers, she ends up getting a message from a woman on Facebook named Meta McLeod. Meta reached out to...
That just sounds like a made-up name.
It does.
Sorry.
I'm not kidding. It's her real fucking name. I promise. I thought the same thing, and I was like, wait,
okay.
Meta? Yeah, Meta McLeod. It's spelt like Meta, but with 2 T's instead. So M-E-T.
Okay.
Yeah. So Meta reached out to Cathy to tell her that she felt like her own case from when she was a child was some way connected to that of Aundria's missing persons case. So when Meta was a child, she had been abducted from the Windmill gas station in Holland, Michigan in September of 1989. Now, Holland and Hamilton, it's literally right beside each other. So this was only 5 months after the disappearance of Aundria Bowman. Meta says that she walked home after school, and when she got there, she asked her mom if she could walk over to her friend's house. At first, her mom said no, but after Meta begged a few more times, her mom gave in, but just told her, call me when you get there. Now, also remember, it's the 80s. So even a 6-year-old walking to a friend's house, it's very normal, unfortunately. Different time. Well, while Meta was walking over to her friend's house, a man in an old red pickup truck pulled up and parked on the sidewalk by her. He got out and told her that her mom told him that he could take her to go see some puppies. He could go pick up her daughter and go see some puppies in a barn. And by the time he had even finished telling her this, he had already gotten out of the truck and was so close to her he could touch her. So before she could really even do anything, he just grabs her and puts her in his truck. She's sick. She's 6. She has no idea what the fuck to do. So she's like, okay, let's get us some puppies.
I believe you.
Yeah, right?
You've given me no reason not to believe you.
Right,
so.
And you know my mom. Cool, let's go see some puppies in a barn. Now, Meta says that at first he was actually really nice, and she thought that he knew her mom, like I said. So in the beginning, she didn't even realize that she was in any danger whatsoever. But after a little while of driving, the man pulls over, but Meta, she's looking around and she doesn't see a barn anywhere. So as she's looking around again, trying to find this barn, the man gets out of the truck and grabs a rope. Before Meta realizes what's going on, he puts the rope around her neck and drags her out of the vehicle and then into the woods.
God.
Yeah. Even at 6, she was able to realize very quickly that she was in an immense amount of danger. So she just starts screaming at the top of her lungs. But unfortunately, nobody could hear her because they're out in the middle of nowhere, out in the middle of the woods. So the man then, trigger warning, going to get into some assault here.
Oh, God.
The man strips Meta down and wrapped her sweater around her mouth to keep her quiet. He then sexually assaulted her. I don't know how. I don't really care to know how. All I know is he sexually assaulted her, and that's all we need to know, okay? Thankfully, though, after a few minutes, some dogs in the distance started barking, so apparently not too far away, like a good distance, but still not too far. There was a campground, and he heard these dogs barking, so he instantly thought, well, shit, if there's dogs near, there's people near.
There's people.
So he skedaddled on out of there.
He left her?
And he left her, tied up, naked, in the woods at 6 years old.
And sexually abused.
So,
probably bloody.
Oh, yeah, I would assume. So, thankfully, she wasn't tied up too tight, and so she was able to undo her restraints. But then she had to run out of the woods to the street naked, where she flagged down a passing car, and they got her some help and got her to the police station.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Now, back at the police station, Meta gave a very detailed description of her attacker to a sketch artist who rendered a sketch of the suspect, which we will show over on our Instagram. Unfortunately, though, at the time, nobody was ever able to make any connections or solve her case. As Meta got older, she started using the internet to look around for missing people in or near Hamilton. She desperately didn't want this to happen to anyone else, and she just wanted closure for her own case. And she wanted to see, like, is there anybody else that this has happened to? Are there missing people that could be connected to mine? Like, she wants answers, which, like...
That's really smart, too.
It is. Yeah. That's when she found the missing persons report of Aundria Bowman. Through more research, she found the Find Aundria Bowman Facebook page, and in 2013, she reached out to Cathy. She told her that there was something in her that just told her that her case and Aundria's were somehow connected. As Meta began to research more and more of Aundria's case, she came across some pictures of Aundria's adopted family, and her heart instantly sank. The man in the photo, Dennis Bowman.
It can't line up that good. It can't.
Aundria's adoptive father looked exactly like Meta's kidnapper from all of those years ago.
I knew something was wrong with him. Dennis?
Fucking Dennis.
Dennis, the actual menace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
actually have in my notes, cue the minion sound. Dun, dun, dun.
You actually sound just like them.
Thank you. I can't do the
That's a really good
celebration
sound.
horn. I sound like Blue's Clues, so at least I can do the minion sound. I'll put that in my bag of accomplishments.
What the actual fuck? Okay. This changes things. Okay.
When I tell you this is just the tip of the iceberg, girl, it goes so much deeper.
Tell me more. I'm hungry for more.
So, Cathy, she's thinking, who in the fuck did I give my child to? And what the fuck?
Oh, honey.
She's pissed. And like I said, her quote in the beginning, you want to get something done, get good and mad. And this, I say this bitch, but like, I say that in the most loving way possible. She got good and mad.
No, like,
she love her. So she decides, like, come hell or high water, I'm getting answers. And so she, along with Meta and Carl, they just keep digging. Okay. During Meta,
these three strangers,
fucking badass, I tell you,
through the internet.
Oh, I just
have created this I don't know, trifecta
investigation team, like little detectives. I just
working towards the common goal.
Trust me, you're gonna love Cathy more and more by the time we get to the end of this. Like, it's so good.
Okay.
Now, during Meta's questioning after her attacker, she had told investigators that the man smelled very dirty, as if he was a mechanic or a painter. She also told them that he drove an old red pickup truck. After some research, they discovered that at the time of Meta's kidnapping and attack, Dennis worked at a boat harbor where he worked on boats. Quote unquote mechanic, paint. He smelled dirty. Next. Also, his regular schedule was to get off work around 3 p.m. And it wasn't long after that, 3 p.m. marked when Meta was attacked.
Yeah. Kids get out of school around that time. Yeah.
And the path that she took to get to her friend's house was also the exact path that he would have taken to get home. And he would have even had to have passed his home in order to take her to the wooded campground where he assaulted her. So there are some major alignments, but it doesn't stop there. Cathy.
My nostrils are flaring.
Mm-hmm. Cathy reaches out to Sue. Okay. Sue's the family member. Remember? Yep. And asked her if Dennis drove a red pickup truck during the time of Aundria's disappearance. And wouldn't you know it, he fucking did. Sue even gave them a picture of the exact truck that Dennis drove. Meta looked at it and said that it looked exactly like the one she'd been kidnapped in. They also got a hold of interviews that Dennis had done with the police during the time of Aundria's disappearance. And when Meta heard Dennis's voice, her body went cold. Sounded exactly like her kidnapper.
Oh my God.
Right?
Oh my God.
Right? Now, around the same time, Cathy is getting message after message after message from Aundria's friends about her life growing up. Some friends told her that Dennis made them feel extremely uncomfortable and they did not want to be around him. Another friend told her that Aundria had confided in her that her parents didn't like her. The same friend said that she believed that the home Aundria grew up in was a house of horrors. Sue, the relative of Brenda, told Cathy that there were many times when Aundria would come over with her family, and she remembers Aundria just like sitting on the hearth to the fireplace, just hanging her head like she was full of shame. And then Brenda fucking walking around saying shit like, "Want to hear what the kid did today? Want to hear what the kid did this time?"
Oh my God.
Right? So it sounds like Aundria was just constantly being talked down to, not only to herself, but also about herself to other people in front of her. Yeah.
I thought y'all wanted her.
Yeah.
Like, you sought out a child and then you were grateful for that. So we thought. Why was I was thinking Brenda wouldn't be a problem, but her name is Brenda.
Oh, when I tell you Brenda's a big fucking problem. It took all I had in me to have like the straightest face when I was like, oh my God, they were so happy, and telling that part of the story, because I honestly just want to like fucking gut punch off.
To be honest, you looked fake to me in that moment, but I thought you were just...
I was trying too fucking hard.
I don't know.
You know me too well. So, also, one friend said that she went with Aundria to her house after school one day. When they got to the house, Aundria told her to wait outside and she would tell her when it was okay to come in. The friend thought it was weird. Real quick.
Yeah.
I just realized I didn't do another trigger warning. I'm going to give one right now. There is physical abuse that happens and emotional abuse and things that happen as well. I should have listed that earlier. Sorry.
Thank you for prefacing now.
So she gets with her to Aundria's house, and Aundria says, hey, wait outside. Let me just make sure everything's good before you come in. She thought that was weird, but she's like, all right, sure, I'll wait. Well, after Aundria walked inside, she heard her and Dennis begin fighting. While she was partway up the stairs, Aundria, she sees that she's trying to like escape from Dennis and running from him as they're like screaming at each other. And Dennis reaches out and grabs her ankles and pulls her down, making her face plant into the stairs.
No.
As they continue fighting, the friend is kind of freaked out, doesn't have no idea what the fuck to do. So she just leaves. It's like, I ain't walking into that.
That's so scary. Yeah.
So she goes home. On Monday, when she went to school, she asked Aundria, like, hey, what the fuck was up with that? Like, is everything okay? She was like, yeah, he just got mad because I got off the bus and got home late. And the friend was like, what? You got off the bus at the exact same fucking time you always get off the bus. Like, she's like, that's bullshit. There ain't no way that that's what happened.
Even if she was like, what an overreaction. What an inappropriate reaction.
Yeah, absolutely. Another friend said that she stayed the night at Aundria's house one time. When it was time for dinner, they all went downstairs and sat around the dinner table. But what was strange was her and Aundria weren't allowed to eat what the rest of the family was eating. They were only allowed what was called a, quote, leftover sandwich.
What?
Yeah. The friend described it as 2 pieces of bread with ketchup, mustard, and relish on it. No meat, no cheese, no lettuce, no bacon, no nothing. Literally 3 condiments on 2 fucking pieces of bread. Now the friend is like, what? This is fucking weird. And Aundria made a comment, like a little snarky comment about like, yeah, this is all I'm allowed to eat. This pissed off Dennis. So Dennis gets up, walks across the floor at her on the other side of the table, hits her so hard she almost falls out of her seat and starts bawling.
Oh my God.
And the friend witnessed this whole thing. You know what Brenda did this whole time?
Oh, what?
Nothing. She just sat there and kept feeding baby Vanessa.
Oh my God. How did that not upset the baby? Sorry.
Right?
You did.
Mm-hmm. Now, on multiple occasions, Aundria ran away. Many of her friends knew that her home life just wasn't the best. And there was one friend that she would stay with pretty regularly when she would run away. And this friend would also like hide Aundria from her own parents. So like she'd hide her in her room and then like sneak up food, from her own house. During one of these runaway stints, Aundria confided in this friend that her adoptive dad, Dennis, would come into her room at night and force her to do sexual things with him that she didn't want to do. Yeah.
No.
So Dennis is even worse than we thought. Now, the friend felt absolutely devastated for Aundria, so she encouraged her to go tell an adult. After this encouragement, the two girls went to school on Monday and went straight to the principal's office and tried to have all the confidence and courage in the world to tell them what was happening at Aundria's home. I know. She was so brave. Unfortunately, the school's fucking stupid and decided how they're going to handle these situations with students, and they did this with multiple students, is they called the fucking parents to come and sit in on the meeting. So then they asked the child, so what's going on at home? You want to tell us again? While their fucking abuser and parent is sitting right there. Like,
no, not safe.
There's not a safe place for them to come out. So they'll just be like, nothing happened. I'm just kidding.
Shouldn't it be enough them like coming forward about it?
Yes.
For you to have a private conversation with parents and a private conversation with law enforcement?
Again, I don't know if you heard me. Yes.
And again, yes.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Aundria ended up telling Brenda one day that Dennis molested her, but Brenda said that it was a lie. And there was no way that Dennis would do such a thing.
Of course she did.
Now, you know how I told you earlier they took her to counseling?
Yeah.
You want to know what kind of counseling that was?
Was it Christian?
Yep. They took her to the minister.
Yeah.
And they called that counseling.
I was like, wondering why it didn't work.
Because it's not actually fucking counseling. So they were like, you're lying. He did not fucking molest you. We're going to take you to the minister and you're going to tell him what you tell us.
If therapy isn't working, either stop going to your religious therapy or switch providers.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there are some bad therapists out there. I ain't gonna joke.
Just like there are bad doctors and bad lawyers and bad dental hygienists.
I had to fire one of my therapists and then she tried to gaslight me and I was like, bitch, don't even try that on me.
You literally cannot do that.
I know.
Yeah.
Seriously. So they take her, the minister takes her in and starts asking her questions. And they talk for a little. And then they bring Dennis and Brenda in. And the minister's like, tell them what you told me. And she was like, I lied about everything.
Oh my God.
Now,
this is a joke.
I don't know about you, but I call fucking bullshit. I don't think that's a fucking lie. She's already tried to go to the principal's office, and tell them what happened, which I'm assuming is happening similar to how this happened. I couldn't find any more detailed information of how that went down, but I'm assuming it happened like this. So at this point, she's just like, nobody's going to believe me. I've tried.
So what's the point?
Me, so I'm just going to say I was lying and just
try to survive
and try to survive. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sue says in the documentary, she's completely brokenhearted when she found out about this, because if she would have known at the time, she would have done something about it. She would have been a safe adult for her to come to. But I think at that point, Aundria had already decided, there's no adult that's safe. And I can't trust.
You can't trust anyone. Yeah. Probably it wouldn't have made a difference.
Probably not in the day and age that it was.
But I love that she's willing.
She was willing. Yeah.
And that she cares.
If anything, it would have been a safe person to know, she could come to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just, it's really sad. So Aundria's friends knew she wasn't lying about the abuse, and they encouraged her to just run away. But Aundria actually refused. She told her friends that she couldn't leave baby Vanessa behind. She was terrified that Vanessa was going to end up enduring exactly what she'd been enduring when she got older.
Yeah.
So she ended up telling her friends that when she got older, she wanted to just take baby Vanessa away with her and take her from her parents and then go and find her biological mom. Now, Sue, the family member, says that when she got the story about Aundria's disappearance, she was told that Aundria didn't take anything with her. Sue specifically asked Brenda and Dennis if she had taken her purse or a bag, money, or anything like that, but they consistently told her that she didn't take anything.
But we know that that's
but we know that there's items missing. So like, why is there a conflict of this story? So like, that's not adding up. This, like her, like to us, like it didn't make sense to Sue. So she approached Brenda about it and asked her like how Dennis felt about everything. And Brenda said that they couldn't talk about it because when she brought it up, Dennis would just get angry and then they would start fighting.
True. It's the truest sign of guilt.
It's a red flag. It's the guy with the big red flag. He's like, ma'am, do you see this? This is a red flag.
It is a blaring bingo sign.
Yes.
In the
neon light.
Butt crack of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee. That's what it is.
So this shocked Sue. And it made her feel very uncomfortable. So you know what she did? She goes to the police. She said, fuck you. We're going to the police because something's not adding up here. And she told them that they needed to closely investigate Dennis Bowman in connection with the disappearance of Aundria Bowman. She told them that the circumstances of her disappearance didn't make sense. And Dennis's responses over time had just gotten weirder and weirder. So like, something's not right. Look into this shit.
She sees.
I'll give you one guess what the cops did.
Was it nothing?
Ah, ding, ding, ding. You're correct. They did absolutely nothing because they're pieces of shit.
I'm sorry. Can I ask something that I haven't looked up a picture of Aundria. Is Aundria a person of color?
No.
Okay. Somehow I was wondering if that was involved. Never mind. Okay.
Nope. She's a white girl.
Okay.
She's white girl.
Because sometimes I just know they won't take cases seriously with people of color, and so it's whatever.
In this case, unfortunately, because she was a runaway prior to this.
Okay.
I see. You're a runaway. Yeah. So they do nothing.
Okay.
Now, like I said, Aundria is classified as a runaway. And shortly after she disappeared, her case went cold and was never looked at again until Carl, with the web sleuthing group, ended up making the connection that she could be the identity for the Jane Doe found in the cornfield. So after this, Cathy then submitted a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act, on Dennis Bowman. She paid a lot of money, requested it, took a while, but she got it. And when she received it, oh, baby, she received a treasure chest of gold. Fucking gold. It had a shit ton of information and his criminal fucking record.
I was going to say, is there a criminal record?
Yeah. Oh, there's a criminal record. You want to hear about it?
Can I take a guess at two things?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so please. I'm going to guess that there is something about domestic assault.
Okay.
And then I'm also going to guess kidnapping.
Okay. Now, let's get into it. You'll see if you're right.
Okay.
So on Dennis's record, there were 2 cases. The first case was breaking and entering and stalking a coworker. When he was caught for this crime, they found a duffel bag in his home with the coworker's lingerie in it.
Boy, go home. What?
Awkward. I would be fucking terrified. So fucking terrified.
That's embarrassing.
Also in the duffel bag, they found a mask and an illegal sawed-off shotgun. For this crime, Dennis only served a year in county jail.
How is that legal?
I don't know.
Okay.
It should be more, but here we are. The second case was on May 23rd, 1980. Dennis had attacked a teen on Lakeshore Drive in Holland, Michigan. Holland is just a handful of miles north of Hamilton. So apparently what happened was the girl was riding a bike when Dennis pulled up and told her to get off the bike and head towards the woods. When the teenager looked at him, she saw that he had a gun and he yelled at her again to get off her bike and go into the woods. But this time he shot the gun past the girl. Before she could really do anything, Dennis yelled again, "God damn it, get off your bike and start heading to the woods." Next thing he did was he shoots the ground at the girl's feet. Like she sees the dirt fly up from where he shot.
Oh my God.
The girl is, of course, not getting off her bike and she's not going into the woods. So Dennis just becomes increasingly more and more angry. And he's just yelling at her, "Get off your bike, get in the woods. I'm going to blow a hole through you," kind of thing. He's just going crazy. But about this time, the teenager sees another truck coming. So she waved her arms to flag this vehicle down. Thankfully, they stopped and she quickly threw her bike in the back of the truck and jumped inside. And they took off. So she survives without a scratch, just a bunch of drama.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dennis was later caught and arrested for this crime. But do you want to know what Dennis said when he was put under arrest?
Did you say she made me do it?
No, he said, I got to go pick up my toddler from daycare.
Oh my God. So was this, which toddler is this?
This is Aundria.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What is happening?
She was 6.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What? I'm sorry. So he didn't have consequences to that, or?
No, he did. He got arrested.
Okay. That's not consequences to me.
He spends a little bit of jail. Okay. So the court said that Dennis, quote, had prior thoughts concerning forcible rape, that the psychologist indicates that he presents the clinical picture of a rapist, and we conclude that he is a danger to women if not confined. End quote.
Oh my. So, and he has daughters and a wife. Somebody pick up the phone. 911. Shawty called 911. It's not a joke.
So on February 2nd, 1981, Dennis was sentenced to 5 years. Around this time, Aundria was only 6 years old. Dennis was released from prison in 1986 when Aundria was 11. Guess what? The whole time that Dennis was in prison, Brenda stayed with him. She said, you're my man. You're my ride or die. You are the Bonnie or the Clyde to my Bonnie. I'm the Bonnie to your Clyde.
Well, I mean, it's a Christian community. It's a small town.
Exactly.
So, yeah. This is not surprising to me.
Yep. Oh, you'll hear what she has to say.
Oh, great.
So, she is not going anywhere. She knew what he had tried to do. She knew what he confessed to wanting to do, and yet she stayed with him.
Is he allowed to own handguns still, or any guns?
Mm-mm. No, I don't think so. I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming not because of his criminal history.
Okay, well, that's one win, I guess.
Yeah. Many were beyond baffled by her decision to stay with him, but Brenda stated that she took her marriage vows very seriously.
Oh, of course.
I take my marriage vows seriously.
By the way, I just have to weigh in here on the marriage vows thing. So he broke the vows.
Yeah.
If one person breaks them, all of them are broken at that point. Like the
walk away.
There's no longer a covenant between you because it's reciprocated. It's a full circle thing on both sides. So if one person breaks it, the whole system is fucked.
Yeah.
So like, it's okay if you as the person that held up your vows, if you need to walk away from it because the covenant is broken at that point.
Absolutely.
That's my opinion.
I'll talk more about Brenda in part 2, and we'll get into more of I have some assumptions about her.
I'm curious about her. Yeah.
I have some assumptions about her. So, like she said, she takes it seriously. And now this is just me assuming, and I could be wrong, but I can't help but think that she was taught to believe that divorce is not an option because of her faith.
Yeah.
You know, we've been taught that. We've seen that. So I can't help but think that that's probably part of her reason she's staying. Similar to like Josh and Anna Duggar.
Yeah.
Josh was found guilty. They know what he did, but yet Anna still stays with him. Kind of thing. So now at this point, Cathy, along with you, me, Blue's Clues, and Steve are convinced that Dennis has killed Aundria. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And he's lied about her running away. But Cathy has no proof. Thankfully, though, she doesn't let that stop her. She's like, hold my beer.
The anger drives this woman. She is our girl. She's the moment.
Her and Carl, they had started attending the Missing in Michigan conference every year and said that it was an amazing support system and helped her make connections with other people who understood what she was going through.
Excellent.
So her and Carl attended it almost every year. And in 2013, it was their second time to attend. This year, Cathy got there a little bit late. So when she walked in and went to sit down in the circle, Carl nudged her because there was like other people in the circle, and he nudges her and he points out Brenda.
Oh my God.
Now, Cathy was shocked because they had never met in person.
So she recognizes her. Like, I'm assuming she's seen pictures of her.
Yeah, and Carl had recognized her. That's why Carl was like, hey, that's fucking Brenda.
That's the one. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're under the same roof. This is wild.
I want you to think, is Cathy going to play nice with Brenda? Do you think she'll play nice?
I feel like no.
Absolutely
no.
not. She's not her personality.
I mean, based on the mantra, I'm just...
Yep. So Brenda actually spoke first and said, today, Aundria has 2 mothers here.
Shut the fuck up.
That's all it took. That's all it fucking took. And at this moment, something inside Cathy exploded and she saw red. She stood up and pointed her finger at Brenda and said, you tell these people who your husband is. Next, everything just implodes. Everything's erupting. Chaos ensues. Everyone's yelling. It's insane. Carl tries to calm the situation and he goes to introduce himself, but like right as Carl starts to talk.
It's not the time, Carl.
No, he does good.
Oh, okay.
Right as he starts to talk, Cathy's like fuming. She goes and gets up and she grabs one of the Find Aundria Bowman like huge posters and she just stands behind him and like holds it up over his head while he's talking at Brenda.
That's good.
And I'm like, baller move. Fucking baller. But Carl, goes on and he says that there's the story that they're telling you. He tells this to the circle of people, and then he's like, but there's also the likely story. Oof. And everyone's kind of like, what the fuck is the likely story, Brenda? Brenda, tell us the likely story. And then Brenda says, be glad my husband isn't here.
Yeah. Be
Carl
glad so that Cathy doesn't absolutely
murder him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carl replies with, quote, what do you expect us to say? We know your husband's criminal history and that he spent 5 years in prison for attempting to rape an 18-year-old at gunpoint. What are we supposed to think? End quote. Brenda replies with, this makes my blood boil. Okay. Quote, I haven't forgotten what he did, but I have forgiven him and I take my marriage vows seriously. End quote. Ma'am.
There was a certain point in time in which I also subscribed to that same mindset when I lived in a toxic marriage.
Yep.
All I can say is, you're wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We can understand
yourself as well as your daughters suffer when you stay.
Yes. We can understand it, but we can also say you're fucking wrong. You're in all the wrong. Yeah. Now, I have to add this in because when I tell you it pissed me off, like it's a fucking understatement. But at the Missing in Michigan conference, they did some sort of like candlelight ceremony kind of thing for all of the missing people. But at this point, Cathy's so furious, like she can't even be around Brenda. She's like, I will murder her. I will go to jail. Like I can't even look at her face. So she wasn't in there during this time. And so Brenda goes up and she lights a candle for Aundria, but Cathy didn't. Now, later on, when Brenda is talking to police about other stuff.
Oh my God.
And is describing this story.
She
actually says about this situation and the whole like, I lit a candle and she didn't. She says, quote, well, who's the better mother now?
What is that? What Venn diagram are you using, woman?
I don't know. The one that has her in it and only her. In one circle. There's no Venn
pause.
diagram.
I just have to say this so that it doesn't get misconstrued. I understand in a way that Brenda is also a victim. But victims become abusers when they stay in situations like this towards people that are powerless beneath them. So to her children, she would become an abuser.
Yes.
Most likely.
Yes.
That's just, it's a cycle that happens until you break it. So
absolutely. And I guess I'll say my stuff now instead of in part 2 about her is I think she probably has kind of like a Stockholm syndrome because we do not know this. This is my assumption. This is my opinion fully. I did not get this anywhere, but knowing how he treated Aundria based off like what her friends had said, I can't help but think that he physically abused Brenda. So I am under the assumption, along with her religious beliefs and along with maybe some physical and emotional abuse, she has like a Stockholm syndrome type of thing.
That would make sense.
I can have some sympathy for that. But when I tell you, I judge her so fucking hard, you're going to understand it by the time we get to the end of part 2. You will get the rage and you will understand where I'm coming from.
I'm already judging just because there's kids in the picture. Like it's no longer your safety and your security. You now have powerless beings that you're responsible for.
And I have family members. I have multiple family members that have been sexually abused as a child. And when they went to adults, they were told that they were lying, by the adults.
Yeah.
And never believed. And then years later, when this person was found to have done it to multiple people, the parents of this person came back and were like, oh, fuck, you weren't lying. She's like, nah, I fucking wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for traumatizing me as a child.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just get really, really angry when people tell children of sexual assault that they're lying.
That didn't happen.
When it's like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of people who actually lie about sexual assault cases. So, and it's, yeah, not usually children. But anyways, so let's keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, Cathy would go back to Michigan in a desperate attempt to search every place that Dennis had ever lived or had ties to, just to try to find any kind of evidence linking him to her daughter's disappearance. Now, unfortunately, the house that Aundria lived in with the Bowmans during the time of her disappearance had actually been torn down. So it was just like a plot of land at this point. And just a few months after she went missing, I think it was like 6 months, the family actually moved not too far away from their original home, which everybody at the time thought was weird because they were like, this is not a time of cell phones and internet searches. Like, we don't have the internet. Internet is not a thing. So like, how is she going to know where you went? This is actually going to make it 10 times harder for her to find you if she's gone missing. Like, this did not make sense to anybody. Now, on one of these trips, they decided that they wanted to try and search the Bowmans' current property. Of course, they're not going to get permission from the Bowmans to do this. So Cathy and Carl actually used a drone and took some aerial footage and compared it with like Google images and things like that. I know. I was like, good job. Now, in these photos, there is a spot in the backyard that just seemed off to Cathy. And after seeing it, she's convinced that like that's where Aundria was buried. Now, Carl listened to her, but he didn't necessarily agree that that was the most likely place for Aundria to be buried if she was dead, because this wasn't even the property that she lived at during her disappearance. So he and many of the investigators at this time thought that this was very illogical, because there were some investigators that were involved in the case at this point, but they were like, that just doesn't seem right. Like,
but it's a good thing to keep in the back of your mind, though, just in case.
Yeah.
Seems like a good
for
plan
sure.
B or plan C.
Yeah. Carl thought like most likely he probably buried her in the woods off to the side of the property that they first owned. Like, that would be the most logical place to think.
Yeah.
But he also was not going to like argue with Cathy and her grief and her
She's a grieving mother, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, this isn't going to change anything, whether she is or isn't there.
Yeah, yeah.
Or if the truth is if she isn't or there. Like, that's not going to change anything. Let me just help you with the investigation. Let's just keep pushing forward. He listened, didn't judge, just kept on going with it. But since Cathy was confident that Aundria's body was in the Bowman's backyard of their current residence, she went to the cops and she told them, go search the property. Fucking dig it up. But of course they couldn't, because they have not a shred of evidence that points to Dennis Bowman or their backyard.
Yeah.
And there's not one judge that's going to give them even a search warrant, much less dig up their whole fucking backyard, you know? So now, unfortunately, at this point, Cathy's investigation is kind of at a standstill. Without any kind of hard evidence or firm lead, there's really nowhere to go from here. But because Cathy is the type of woman that you don't want to fuck with, she wasn't going to let a brick wall stop her, and she became relentless. I'm sorry, I'm already laughing because this part cracks me up.
She's so good.
I do not endorse her behavior, but I kind of am like, it pays off in the end.
Okay.
First thing she did was she got a billboard that was on the main road going from the Bowman's residence into town. So he had to pass it like every time he was going to work. And it was a Find Aundria Bowman, like huge, like missing persons billboard. Like, she wanted it to taunt him. She was like, yeah, I'm going to taunt him. After that, she started her realm, or her like string of harassment. And I'm going to call it harassment because it was absolutely
call it what it is. Okay.
She got on Facebook and she would make posts and say things like, quote, your bad karma's breathing down your neck, Dennis Bowman, and he's never going to forget your name. She'd also make posts about him rotting in hell, and she'd state that he had her daughter buried in his backyard. And when I tell you, she didn't give a fuck.
Wow.
She let it all loose, okay? And she would even call the Bowman's house and rip into them on their voicemail. And then when the voicemail would beep, like saying like, you recorded too long, she'd hang up and call back and do it again, over and over again. When I tell you it was harassment, like 1000%, this was fucking harassment.
You can't stop a mom's love, that's for sure.
You can't. You really can't. I don't know what to say, but I can't say I wouldn't do the same thing. Like, so after weeks, if not months of this harassment, Brenda finally called the cops and told them if Cathy didn't stop, she was going to press harassment charges. But do you think Cathy was scared? Absolutely
She said,
not.
charge me,
Not one
bitch.
bit. Yeah, she did. She said, let's do it. Now, what the harassment did do, though, was it allowed for the cops to start interviewing the Bowmans to find out more about the harassment, but also gave them the door to ask questions about Aundria's missing persons case.
Yes.
So it was definitely an open door, and it worked out in the end. And then one day, out of nowhere, Cathy gets a message from Meta informing her that Dennis had been arrested. She's ecstatic. Oh my gosh, her daughter's finally going to get some justice. Maybe she can finally find her, bring her home, give her some peace.
What's he arrested
But then,
for?
in the most shocking turn of events, they find out that Dennis was not being charged with the murder or disappearance of Aundria. He was being arrested and charged for the murder of a woman in North Fork, Virginia, back in 1980.
What is happening?
Dun, dun, dun.
How many crimes will this man commit before he's satisfied?
Yeah. When I tell you, I was like, what the fuck? Tell me.
Literally.
And I am so sorry,
No,
but that's
you're
where we're
not.
going to leave
I knew you'd leave it here. After that, when my jaw dropped, I said, this will be the final time it drops today. She'll leave me hanging here.
I'm so sorry, but you don't have to wait long because Lola gets to hear it the very next day. We're recording part 2 the next day, so.
It's still too long.
It is too long, but we've been at this for over, almost an hour and a half. I knew this was going to
That was a lot of information, though.
I know. And I cut stuff out.
Well, that's
you guys
good.
got to go watch the Netflix documentary. You've got to. Thanks. Well, that's good. I don't want to hear your voice no more.
We have to fit it in a
I know.
certain time frame. They don't know this.
Do.
But yeah, okay. Well, I'm excited to hear the rest, but I'm also ready for palate cleansers because Dennis makes me want to wash my mouth out. Anyway.
Dennis makes me want to burn my body layer off. Just
your body layer?
Off. The germ layer, just like
the germ layer.
I don't know. He makes me feel ick, okay? Just makes me feel ick.
You know what? I have to. One of our listeners gave me this phrase they coined, curiosity consultants. Somebody, something about the nerds, the science side weighing in and telling us things about like the science things we don't know or the biological thing or whatever. Yeah. That we don't know. Curiosity consultants, if you're out there.
Yes.
Tell us about the germ layer of the skin.
No, don't tell me I'm stupid. I know I'm stupid. Okay, it just came out. Okay.
Yeah, and that listener is our one and only Kit, who is Sergeant.says on Instagram, coined that little term for us, the curiosity consultants.
Yes. We also had another one, Mariah. This is the one I was thinking about that emailed us about the Tracy Wigington case, about the blood and would it cause diabetes and things like that. And she gave us some information.
Yeah.
Which doesn't cause diabetes, but if it's like over the long term, like if it's constantly drinking blood, that it can like damage things, which then in turn could cause diabetes in the long run. But yeah, so we love our curiosity consultants. We love you guys, please. But I know there's not a germ layer, okay? I was going to say I'm not stupid, but I have my moments, okay?
It's just funny. Well, I have some good news.
What's your good
news? From
the
Good News Network.
Ah, yes. The good old
New evidence near mysterious carvings show Persians may have escaped to Madagascar for religious freedom.
Hey, that is interesting.
They are rock-cut niches in Madagascar's Izalo National Park. I said that wrong, and I know I did. Once believed to be a makeshift shelter for shipwrecked Portuguese sailors, have now been reinterpreted as a sort of Persian Plymouth Rock, founded by religious settlers looking to practice their religion in peace.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So a dedicated Swiss team is working at the site in Tenacity, and they are still doing research on it. But yeah, super cool.
I like that. I think that's so interesting.
There you go.
Yeah.
What's yours?
I have kind of a funny palate cleanser. This is so fucking hilarious. So my husband, he owns his own business. So he goes out to clients' houses and stuff. And he was finishing up at this one client's house. He's been there for a while. And he had mentioned our podcast. And the guy's like, oh, I love podcasts. Like I listen to podcasts all the time. Like, yeah, I'll listen to it. So Tyler gave him all the information and everything. And his wife's out of town. It's just him. He's a much older guy. Like I say much, like 50, like doesn't have like kids at home kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so he's by himself. He's getting ready for,
oh no.
He's just like laying down for bed. And he decides, I'm going to pop in their podcast. No. It's just like, we are not a bedtime.
Yeah. This is not a bedtime story. This is a broad daylight, watch SpongeBob afterward kind of thing.
At the time, it was our very first Halloween episode for this year.
Oh shit.
He lays down to fucking listen to the Tracy Wigington episode of Drinking Blood Vampires.
No.
And not only that, our intro is different for October because it's like creepy as fuck because it's my kids. And so there's even that. He started listening to it. And then after a little bit, he's like, I had to turn it off. I was getting a little scared.
Understandable.
I was laughing so fucking hard when he told me that last night. I was like, oh my God,
so
this is our palate cleanser.
If you recommend our podcast, maybe start
from the beginning.
Maybe start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Or just like,
don't listen to it at night.
Mainly that, really.
Because some of this stuff is like so fucking heavy. And so
even the ones that were like right before spooky season, we had like a couple of really, really dark ones.
Yes. Like the Jason Linton one, that one was...
that were just really hard, like even for both of us as the researchers, storytellers. So
yeah. And we could be a nighttime podcast. It just, you got to be a
Deadly Faith After Dark. Oh, that's cute. Sorry.
Seasoned true crime listener, but also Deadly Faith After Dark.
Deadly Faith After Dark? What do we... TM, no one else used that.
Motherfuckers, don't take it.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do something with that. Should we have s'mores for it? Because that would be nice.
Last time we had like a name where we were like, we fucking love that name. We ended up creating a whole podcast just because we loved the name.
Are we making a whole other podcast?
So go join the Potty Podcast. That's our Patreon.
No, I'm saying, are we making a third podcast? Are we going to be like the mythical crew that just, we have a YouTube channel for everything. We have a podcast for everything. Because like, I admire them. But we don't have a team. It's just us.
I know. It's just two people.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give you another palate cleanser just because I want to, and it's really funny. I watched a video of Rhett and Link interviewing two of their sons.
Oh,
and they were like asking them like random questions, right? And they asked him, if Abraham Lincoln was here today, what would you ask him? And one of the boys goes, hey, want to go to a play?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And everyone, like Rhett and Link just go,
they say, oh, in the background.
They just look at each other like, I don't even know what to say.
Oh, and in this interview, so like present day in 2024, their sons are like, so some are in college and then the other is like about to graduate high school. But in this interview, they're like 6 to 8, I think.
Yeah.
Somewhere around those ages. So like, it was just a very morbid thing for a child to say.
Fucking hilarious. Oh my gosh. I just love Rhett and Link. If I could meet them before I die, like they're the only famous people I would love to meet.
My friend Gary, you met Gary. He met them.
Are you going to fucking tell me Gary got to meet him?
He actually didn't even want to meet them. He used to be it's not that he didn't want to, but like he wasn't meaning to. So like he was a bouncer and like a stagehand at one of the venues in Birmingham, and Rhett and Link were doing a live show there. And he had heard about them, and then he ran into them backstage, and he was like, yeah, they're absolute jerks. And I was like, well, to be fair, I have heard them on the podcast say, if you guys met us in real life, you probably wouldn't like us. You'd think we're boring or like just not very nice people, because we turn on the personality to do work all the time. So then when we're like gearing up for that, or when we're like having rest time, we just like turn it off,
shut down.
And So also, to be honest, they may have been stressed out by Birmingham traffic, and I don't blame them for that because it's horrible.
Also, it's a live show and like they're in the middle of work mode. Like there are people, like if you see me in real life and you come in contact with me at a certain time,
we're stressed.
You could just be like, she's the worst. She's a fucking bitch. Because also I have like resting bitch face like all the fucking time. And it's sometimes hilarious.
She actually does though.
So,
but she's not mad.
Yeah.
She's just
I'm not mad.
Deep in thought or distracted.
I was like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, I was thinking about my outfit for tomorrow.
I was thinking about my outfit for tomorrow, what I'm going to eat for dinner, and when I'm going to bathe the dog.
Mm-hmm.
All at once. And then suddenly bathing my clothes came into my mind. And then I thought, why don't we say washing clothes instead of bathing clothes? Because that's Laci's mind.
Absolutely. That's a really good synopsis of my mind.
You're welcome.
I like that. Anyways, we've kept you guys for a long time. So we'll see you next week for part 2. Don't go watch Into the Fire. I'm not even going to link it in part 1 because I'm going to make you wait until part 2. But after part 2, you better go watch it because it's so fucking good.
Yes. And with that, please stay safe, stay skeptical,
and steer clear of the cultist carousel. We interrupt this episode with a message from our sponsor. If you've ever deconstructed your faith, you know it's not easy. But just imagine if you could have people to guide you through the process.
That's right. People like Jim Palmer, Kristen Dumez, author of Jesus and John Wayne, Jennifer Knapp, Brad Jerzak, Brian Zond, Paul Young, author of The Shack, and more. Well, if you head over to choiracademy.com and register for Square 2 using the promo code LOLA, you'll get 10% off the regular registration cost of this awesome course and community just for being a fan of our show.
All links can be found in the show notes. Again, that's code LOLA, LOLA, for 10% off the Square 2 course.
Also, heathens, if you're enjoying the show so far, please subscribe wherever you're listening to us. Like, follow. We got TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. We're literally everywhere. So join the following, not the cult. Just join the following. Anyway,
it's a cult.
If this is a cult,
it's a fun cult.
It's a healthy cult. That's such a paradox. Anyway,
we're gonna make a shirt for our merch that says "I'm in a healthy cult."
Deadly Faith is brought to you by Choircast Network. It's produced by Laci Bean and Lola Robbins, and audio engineered by Eric Howell. Thanks for listening.